The Avengers have had their fair share of enemies throughout the comics and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But which villain do you always feel this strange connection to? Which villain keeps you coming back for more? Welcome back, Nerd Squad. This is Top 10 Nerd and I am your host, Amanda McKnight. Today we'll be counting down the top 10 hottest Avenger villains. Ooh, that's so hot. Those villains that you just can't get enough of for some weird reason. In fact, they might even get you rooting for them instead, or have you convinced that the Avengers should maybe just give up and simply join their sexiness. Let's get into it. Number 10. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch isn't being ranked low for hotness, just FYI, as you all know how much I love Wanda just all around, so I would never do that to her. But I did think to rank her lower because I just feel bad that we're always calling her a villain on this channel, especially because, you know, she is a hero, but especially an Avengers villain, as Wanda is also known for being a key member of that team herself. Still, there have been a few times when Wanda has seemingly been at odds against her teammates. There are the times she has struggled to regain or maintain control over herself when Chthon has threatened to possess her, and there's House of M as well as Axis, and in the MCU, the time she mistakenly fought against the Avengers in the beginning of Age of Ultron, and when she caused mayhem without really meaning to in WandaVision, when her grief turned her into a powerful yet misguided villain. Basically, she's been a villain a lot, but I don't want to call her a villain, and I already know that she's hot, so number 10 for Wanda today. Number 9. Maximus the Mad. Maximus might not always be an Avengers villain, but he has definitely worked against them and his brother on more than one occasion. What makes Maximus so attractive? Well, he's definitely one of those tall, dark, and mad types, which honestly, I gotta say, I'm into it. After all, conventional thinking is just so boring and it's so safe, and Maximus is definitely neither of those things. He's not boring and he is not safe. Maximus is also quite intelligent, and while he is often crazy, he has also claimed insanity before as a means of escaping punishment. So he might not be quite as crazy as you think all the time. Not only has he threatened his brother's reign as king of the Inhumans, having usurped him multiple times in the past temporarily, but he also has threatened the Earth in the past. The entire Earth, which also obviously brought him into direct conflict with the Avengers. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving this channel, be sure to hit that thumbs up, be sure to smash that subscribe, you know, do all the cool things that us YouTubers ask you to do. And thank you. Thank you for doing them. It really does help us. So thank you. Number 8. Viper, or rather Madam Hydra as she was once known. Ophelia Sarkinson has not only been a longtime enemy of Captain America in the comics, but is also known for, at times, coming into conflict with the Avengers. In fact, she even attempted to place a spy in their midst, although this only resulted in her spy, who appeared to be Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, but was actually the Skrull Queen at the time, being recruited to also play double agent for the Avengers and Captain America against both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. Didn't quite work out. Ophelia is known for being sneaky, deadly, and manipulative, but she also looks damn good while doing all three. Number 7. Grandmaster. The Grandmaster in the comics is known as one of the Elders of the Universe. He actually made his first appearance in Avengers issue number 69 back in the day. He quickly became known as an Avengers villain when he challenged Kang to a game where they would each pit their own team of champions against one another. Kang chose the Avengers as his champions in the fight, and Grandmaster made his own team himself, dubbing them the Squadron Sinister. You might actually recognize that team, as an alternate version of them also appeared in the comics recently during the Heroes Reborn event, where they were known as the Squadron Supreme. Although Grandmaster isn't particularly sexy in the comics, his MCU counterpart is quite attractive, as he's portrayed by one of the most handsome and charismatic men alive, Jeff Goldblum. And if anyone wants to fight me about that, I'll see you in the comments. Number 6. Dark Avengers. I mean, not all of the Dark Avengers are sexy, but I think overall they're a pretty hot team, especially considering they're made up of some really bad and really deadly people. Among the ranks of the hottest Dark Avengers are Moonstone as Miss Marvel, Bullseye as Hawkeye, Daken as Wolverine, Sentry, Ares, and Yelena Belova, who was affiliated with the team for a time, although it was kinda later revealed that Yelena likely wasn't actually Yelena for most or for all of that time. The Dark Avengers is also an attractive group in the sense that they are still playing the role of heroes. Now, they might not always play the role well, but there is something sexy about seeing someone you know as bad playing the part of someone who is heroic. I guess it's just fun to see villains become heroes, or at least, you know, pretend to be heroes. I like when bad people are good, even if they're not really good, you know? Is that a thing? I don't know. Number 5. Queen Veranke. or Veranke. I never know if I'm saying her name right, so I'm just gonna apologize to the queen if I'm saying it wrong. I think Skrulls are some of the hottest enemies of the Avengers out there, namely because they could shapeshift into whatever hotness they wanted, or that their opponent desired if they so chose. Shapeshifters are always the hottest because all options of beauty are basically possible to them. And beauty, after all, is very much subjective when it comes to what we define it as. It really depends on, your personal preferences. Queen Veranke spent much of her time disguised as Spider-Woman while infiltrating Earth, which I also think is a pretty hot form overall. Although not so hot in the sense that this reveal kind of wreaked havoc with Jessica Drew's character development throughout the recent years. Definitely a hot form, but not a hot thing to do. How dare you do that to Spider-Woman? Oh, Queen Veranke. Number 4. Loki. Real talk, I almost forgot to mention Loki on this list, but fortunately I caught myself before I straight up just left him off. I would have been so disappointed in myself if that had happened. Loki is an amazing villain who is also known for being a sometimes shapeshifter and an all-the-time trickster. Loki has taken on many forms before, and even for a time was known as Lady Loki when he stole the body of Thor's love, Lady Sif. He also posed as Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, attempting to bend the Avengers to his will and create and lead his own team. All in all, Loki is a villain who cannot be trusted. But the fact that almost everything is a game or illusion to them is something that makes Loki so endearing. Even though he's often a liar, you kinda wanna believe him. Loki was so charming, he even fell for a version of himself when he crossed paths with the Loki variant Sylvie in the Loki Disney Plus streaming show. You know also that you're hot if you're falling in love with yourself. Number 3. Ultron. I know this might seem like a weird pick to some, but remember when Ultron was a hot lady? This was during the Ultron Initiative, back when Frank Cho was drawing Ultron and basically decided he wanted to draw a really hot and naked Janet Van Dyne as his Ultron. And honestly, I gotta say, Ultron be looking pretty good here, I cannot deny. Although the reasoning for Ultron wanting to look this way was not quite as solid as the overall appearance of the character. Still, Ultron is kinda hot even when appearing as a masculine automaton. As I've said before in previous lists, I personally think robots deserve love too, and Ultron is really no exception to that rule. Even though, yeah, he does kind of want to destroy all of humanity, but what if we deserve it? And also, what if Ultron just didn't get enough hugs? Did you ever think of that? Maybe if we just gave him some hugs, he'd be good. I'm very optimistic about robots. I'm like, robots don't want to destroy the world, they just want hugs, that's it. Number 2. Enchantress. Enchantress exists to be hot, literally. She is meant to be the perfect woman in terms of her appearance, which allows her often to get what she wants from anyone who might be attracted to her. Now, often in the comics, this means Enchantress will leverage her looks and appearance into manipulating men into doing her bidding or helping her in some other way, by granting her favors or power. However, this doesn't always work in her favor, as just because Enchantress is beautiful and impossibly powerful when it comes to her magical skills, she's simply not the best at everything. Though I would say in most cases she is almost always at least second best, which definitely counts for something and is still pretty impressive. I don't know how I feel about Enchantress's attitude though. I feel like sometimes I'm like, your attitude is not very hot, but you yourself are pretty hot. Also, you're like real powerful, so that's pretty hot. Number 1. Kang. So not only is Kang a hottie in the comics, okay, so maybe he's not quite a hottie in the comics, but he's definitely 100% a hottie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he's played by Jonathan Majors. Not only did Majors do a great job of introducing us to this enigmatic time-traveling multiversal villain in the season 1 finale of Loki, but he will also be allowing us to fall in love with multiple different Kangs, I'm sure, as we continue to meet him again and again throughout the franchise. After all, the Kang we met wasn't even the most deadly version, and undoubtedly we are going to be in for a real sexy and fun treat when we run into him again, or another version of him, in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I just hope the Kang truly gets to become the next big bad in the MCU, as he so deserves that. Also, I just want more Jonathan Majors because he's just great, so yes, give me that, please. Who do you think are some of the hottest Avengers villains around? Which Avengers villains do you think are just compelling in general? Who do you think should make the cut of a potential part 2 for this list? After all, the Avengers have a lot of enemies. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it is time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Scary Alternate Versions of Batman. Mr. Decency comments, the Batman who laughs is still one of the most terrifying characters I've ever seen, and also one of my favorite DC villains of all time. Aw, I like that. Yeah, the Batman who laughs is amazing, and I feel like there's a lot of support for him from the fans. I wish that the Batman Who Laughs was still alive, because I think he's dead now. Spoilers. Maybe. It happened a while ago. Cherry Trip responds, Amanda, nice shirt. Duplicate of Franklin's shirt that he wore as a kid, not because he was 4.5 as some erroneously guessed, but because Franklin considered himself an unofficial member of the team. How cute. And by the team I know you mean Fantastic Four. And yes, that is why he wore that shirt. I do love that shirt. Also, it reminds me of Scott Pilgrim because Scott Pilgrim also wears that shirt in the movie. So basically it's just like all of the nerd things raining down. Trex Advent asks, which one of these alternate versions of Batman do you think is the best and should appear in the DCEU and the Arrowverse? Well, I personally think the Batman Who Laughs is someone that I think we'd all love to see in the DCEU, and I don't know how he would fit into the Arrowverse, but I'd be down to see how it would work. Maybe it could work. I don't know. Definitely in the DCEU though, especially with the new trailer for the Batman. Woo! Looks dark. I love it. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future video. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I am your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you as always to stay nerdy, YouTube.